Good morning and welcome to another episode of Tom's Gadget Garage. In today's video, we're going to be taking the Lectric ONE on a throttle-only range test. Now, this is the long-range version of this bike, so it's got the 48-volt, 14-amp-hour battery. And according to Lectric, we should be able to get approximately 20 miles riding around on throttle only. Now, those range estimates are usually based on a rider of a certain weight. With Lectric, it's about 180 pounds. Flat ground, minimal stop and go. Today I weigh in at about 203 pounds, and we'll be taking the Powerline Trail today, which is many miles of trail, so we shouldn't have any issues there. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how many miles I'm able to squeeze out of this. We did do a pedal assist range test the other day, but you got plenty of mileage out on that, so I'll include the link above as well as in the description if you want to check that out. For that range test, we were cruising around in pedal assist level 3, and we were able to get some solid range there. Now, I will be tracking this ride today with Garmin GPS, as I do with all of my rides. That way we can consistently track range and all those fun stats across various bikes. Now, we did start our ride today around 54.5 volts. We'll mark our turnaround point where we start heading back at around 48 volts, and empty is going to be around 42 volts. And so that's one thing to keep in mind with e-bikes. That battery meter is different on different bikes, and sometimes it's more accurate, sometimes it's less accurate, but one thing you can always rely on is voltage. Now, I do have my fancy little mirror installed on the bike, which is really nice to have if you're going to be riding around on roads. I just have a mirror on the left-hand side here, which allows me to keep an eye out on who's behind me and who's about to pass me really close. So, always nice to have. All right, so we are officially on the Powerline Trail here, which goes from east to west in a straight line. So one of these days, I'm going to get a bike with a big enough battery that's going to allow me to start at my normal starting point for these range tests, go all the way to South Mountain and all the way back. Should be about 70 miles round trip. So that's the one thing I look forward to, is eventually having a bike that can make that trip. All right, for those of you keeping track, we officially crossed the 3-mile mark. Been riding around for about 12 minutes. We've still got all of our battery bars, and resting voltage is over 53. Now, one thing that I find interesting about this bike is that they decided to put the thumb throttle on the left-hand grip, which takes some getting used to. With a lot of the electric bikes, you typically have that twist throttle or quarter twist throttle on the right-hand grip. So quite the change with the Lectric ONE. Not as comfortable on longer rides, I'll say, than having a twist throttle. So that's one thing to keep in mind, but it definitely gets the job done. And it's got really smooth throttle response. I think, much smoother than the twist throttles that I'm used to. So, that's an advantage. Right now we are riding alongside Gilbert's Riparian Reserve, which is a really nice water area by the local library here. And you get a lot of water birds and animals, all kinds of cool stuff. But anyways, I always like riding by here because you can feel how much cooler is riding alongside the water, which is, on the other side of the bushes back there. So definitely nice relief from the summer heat. Although it's not supposed to be very hot today. It's only supposed to be like 101 or 102 degrees, something like that. So definitely a good time to be out and about, which I know is crazy to say. For a lot of people, 100 degrees, anything above 100 is a lot, but living out here, you get used to it. 100 degrees is like sweater weather. Got some horses here to the left. And as I've mentioned before, this bike does not have a suspension, but overall, it is really comfortable. Would it be nice to have a suspension? Yeah, I guess it would, but it would make the bike heavier, and I'll tell you what. So let's say, you run out of power. This bike is actually a heck of a lot easier than most e-bikes to pedal around manually with no assistance. And so, I think it does a really good job of balancing power and weight and features and cost and all that fun stuff. So surprisingly smooth ride for what it is. Horse here, hey. Oh, it looks like we got a cow out today. Nice thing about today is we've got some cloud cover, which is awesome because the sun out here is absolutely intense. You know, I still put about 15 gallons of sunscreen on this morning, which is always the worst part about getting ready for these range tests, is putting on that sunscreen, you know. But you gotta have it out here, especially if you're gonna be riding around for, you know, hour plus out in the direct sun. I actually did another range test with another bike out here, you know, a couple months back, and it was over 4 hours of riding. You know, never in my life have I wanted a range test to end so badly. But that bike just kept going. All right, so we've officially crossed the 6 mile mark. Riding around for about 27 minutes. Resting voltage on the bike, 52.4. Still got all of our battery bars, not surprised there. So we shall see how we do compared to the 20 miles that Lectric claims in throttle-only mode. Looks like we've got some mud here, always lovely. We've actually had lots and lots of rain lately. Big storms roll through, so it's actually drier than I expected it to be. Now, if you were curious, I do have all the fancy gear shift, pre-select, start select, all that stuff is off because we won't be needing it, as we won't be pedaling today, at least during the range test portion of it. We'll see. You know, if I run out of battery, I'll definitely be pedaling. But turned all that off to conserve as much power as possible. But normally, if I had pre-select or the automatic gear shifting enabled right now, as I would use the throttle and, you know, increase and decrease my speed, you'd actually hear the gear shift, you know, shifting up and down accordingly, so that when it does come time to start pedaling, you're automatically in the correct gear, which all I can say is an absolute phenomenal feature of this bike that I've absolutely fallen in love with. All right, so we've officially crossed the 9 mile mark. We've been riding for about 42 minutes. And I don't know if the camera was recording or not. Something was going on with my GoPro there, but we did cross the pedestrian bridge. I'll definitely show you it on the way back. But yeah, one thing to call out is that, you know, in Pedal Assist 3, it did struggle a little bit going over the pedestrian bridge, but as soon as I switched it over to Pedal Assist 4, 5, we had plenty of output to make it over the bridge. So
aren't they great?
They're awesome, yes. You know, with these electric bikes, the higher the pedal assist level, the more output that you're going to get with your throttle. So if you run into a situation, let's say you're cruising around pedal assist level 3 and you need a little more power, you can always bump it up to pedal assist 4, pedal assist 5. All right, so we are officially at the 10 mile mark, which based on, you know, Lectric's estimated range and throttle only would mark the halfway point. But if we look at our resting voltage, we're actually at about 51 volts. So we've got a little ways to go. So as soon as we drop to around 48 volts resting, then we'll turn around and head back to where we started. Now, a nice thing on this bike is that if you press and hold that minus button, you can engage cruise control. So right now you see I've got cruise control on the screen. And so I'm cruising along. I don't have to use that thumb throttle. You know, on longer rides, that thumb throttle does, you know, result in some fatigue in your thumb. So cruise control in this case is a very nice feature to have. Now, the moment that you, you know, hit the throttle or hit the brakes, cruise control will automatically be deactivated for you. So I tap the brakes and cruise control is off and we're coasting. Now, with that being said, it's a little awkward enabling cruise control when you have the throttle on the left. Basically, you have to use, you know, one of your fingers, you know, to get to the speed that you want to get to. And as soon as you're there, then you press and hold that minus button. And there you go, cruise control is enabled. And so when you press and hold that, it'll, you know, set your speed, the cruise control speed, to whatever you're going at that moment in time. All right, so we are officially past the 13 mile mark. We've been riding for about 57 minutes. Resting voltage still at 50.4. And of course, the battery bar on the screen still shows all bars remaining. Now this does have a range estimate on it, which is a really nice change from the Lectric XP 3.0, and it says we've got an estimated range of 22 miles remaining. I don't know about that. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to go up the voltage, not the estimated range. But I will say that at least when pedaling, the estimated range was pretty spot on last time around. So we'll see how it does this time. All right, so there's a little view of the freeway overpass. Noisy little place there. We are now past the 16-mile mark. For a moment there we did lose a battery bar, but it's still showing 100%, which is absolutely not accurate. But that's to be expected with most battery bars on bikes. We're at the 49 volt range. So just on the cusp of dropping into the 48 volt area. So we're going to be turning around here in a moment. Lots of Canadian geese grazing out there. What's up, guys? Yeah, it's the Lectric ONE. You're right. It's the Lectric ONE, baby. So I'm gonna take a little water break here and we'll get things turned around. All right, so there's the Lectric ONE in all of its glory. Got my Cloud 9 seat, which has been holding up really well on this ride. Definitely a lot better than that stock seat. After all these dirt trails, we're gonna have to give this bike a nice little wash here because it is dusty. Anyways, let's take a look at our waterfalls or whatever we got going on here. The canals are definitely a lot more full than they normally are, because like I said, we've had some crazy rain in the past week, so they're definitely releasing more water into the canal system. All right, time to get some water. We are now heading back in the direction in which we started. So that's about 16.67 miles. By the end of this ride, we will have covered at minimum 32 miles. Hopefully we don't run out of battery before then. Pedaling this bike is an absolute dream. This bike begs to be pedaled, especially with that pinion gear shift system. Makes it a really, really enjoyable ride. All right, so it looks like we got a little bit of a headwind. Didn't realize we had a tailwind coming back this way. So anyways, we'll see how that affects our ride. And I think I've mentioned in some of my previous videos, but the brakes on this bike are fantastic. Really good. No squeaking or anything like that.
Wait.
You know, they have lots and lots of stopping power. Of course, they have the 180 millimeter discs up front and the back. And they are hydraulic brakes, which are always nice to have. You know, manual brakes, they get the job done usually, but manual brakes require a lot more force to get you stopped. So with hydraulic brakes, you can exert significantly greater braking force with less effort. So that's always a win-win. In terms of portability, the Lectric ONE is not a folding bike. So if you're coming from something like Lectric XP 3.0 like me, you don't have the ability to fold the sucker in half and throw it in the trunk of your car. What's nice about this bike though is that it only weighs 55 pounds. The Lectric XP 3.0 weighs about 64 pounds. So you got about a 9-pound weight advantage, which you can definitely feel. And in my Mazda CX-5, which is like you know, compact SUV, similar to a RAV4, Hyundai Tucson, Ford Escape, all I have to do is fold the seats down, and I can lay the bike in the trunk flat without removing the front wheel. So it's actually pretty convenient, and I'm able to load it myself, you know, being only 55 pounds. So anyways, you know, not as portable as a folding bike, but Definitely more portable than most of your e-bikes. And you know, if you do have tighter spaces, you can always pop that front wheel off really easily. And of course the handlebar stem and all that fun stuff, that folds down as well. So definitely ways to get it in a more compact package to fit it into tighter places. So we have officially crossed the 20-mile mark, which is the estimated range that Lectric gives on the long range edition version of this bike. You know, on throttle only, and we're at 20 miles. Battery bar showing just south of 50%, and we're at about 47.6 resting volts. One thing I'm noticing about this bike is now that we're below 50% battery, we're still able to hit the same top speeds, but acceleration is slightly slower, which is to be expected. You know, you get voltage sag with all, you know, of these electric devices. So as you start wearing down that battery, you get to 50%, 40%, you start seeing reduced power output, also known as voltage sag. And you see less of that with bikes with higher voltage, you know, 52 volts, 60 volts, so on and so forth. And that's really important to keep in mind, is that, you know, the first 50% of your battery is going to be a lot more performant than the last 50% of your battery. It looks like that beautiful cloud cover that we had is burned off. So coming back in this direction, it is 100% sun to the face. Very uncool. All right, so here we are back to the pedestrian bridge. I put us in pedal assist 5, which will give us the most power output in throttle only mode. Here we are cruising around 12, 13 miles an hour. Of course, we're on the very bottom of this battery, so we are burning precious fuel right now to make it up this thing. And we did. Now we're working our way back down. All right, so our brakes in action. Kind of a bumpy pedestrian bridge. I think they make it less intense for, you know, people walking or manually biking, wheelchair accessibility. So it's got an incline, then it's got a flat part, incline, flat part. And in case you were curious, we are officially at the 25-mile mark. We've been riding for an hour and 46 minutes at this point, and our nominal voltage is at 46.1. And just keep in mind that we will consider around 42 volts as empty for this ride. So we are getting close, but definitely above and beyond the 20 miles that Lectric has in their estimates. Oh, it's definitely smelling like lunchtime. We are in downtown Gilbert right now, and lots of restaurants here getting ready for the day, and it smells fabulous. I'm gonna go ahead and put us in cruise control here. We are now cruising, and that is a really nice feature of, you know, bikes that have, you know, cruise control, is that if you got long straightaways, you don't have to worry about a throttle or anything like that. Just throw it in cruise and you're good to go. All right, we are back off the beaten path, cruising around on the Lectric ONE. Like I said before, hard packed dirt, light gravel, very comfortable bike. The only times things get choppy was in, you know, you ride on bumpy roads or rutted out dirt roads. But other than that, very smooth, very comfortable bike. And I've seen similar sentiment from other people online as well. You know, I think these 20-inch by 2.5-inch tires do a really good job of absorbing a lot of the small impacts in the road. So, like right now, I don't feel any of this. But for those keeping track, we are officially at 28 miles on this ride. We've been riding for about 2 hours at this point. And our voltage, resting voltage, is about 44.9, 45, somewhere around there. Okay, so we just crossed the 30-mile mark. We've been riding for about 2 hours, 8 minutes. Let's see, resting voltage is about 44. And the battery indicator is showing us we're on the last bar. It's red, so we're getting close. But so far, we've gone 50% further than Lectric's range estimates, at least in their manual. So so far so good. Definitely impressive results. We'll see if we can make it back to the starting point. I know we've got at least a couple miles remaining till we get there. Worst case scenario, we'll pedal it, but like I said several times, this is much easier to pedal than your traditional e-bike. All right, so we've just crossed the 31-mile mark. We are limited to about 15 miles an hour right now. Nominal voltage is at around 43, so we're at the bottom end of this battery. So I'll check in with you here as soon as things run out. All right, folks, so there you have it. That was our range test with the Lectric ONE. As I mentioned earlier, Lectric claims up to 20 miles in throttle-only mode. We were actually able to get 32.54 miles using only throttle. Our average moving speed was 14.9 miles an hour. Our max speed, 21.2 miles an hour. We were riding for about 2 hours, 21 minutes, and we had a total elevation gain of 374 feet. So overall, very impressed with the range capabilities on the Lectric ONE, both when pedaling and in throttle only. Like I mentioned earlier, I'll include the link to the official range test where we went in Pedal Assist 3 in the description below. And if you decide you want to purchase one of these bikes, I'll include some links in the description below. If you use those to purchase a Lectric ONE, it definitely helps support this channel and keeps the wheels moving on future reviews. Now, let me know in the comment section below if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns. Happy to answer them. And as always, thank you so much for tuning into Tom's Gadget Garage. We'll see you next time.